Hello everybody, and thank you very much for coming to today's WUN and Smartest event. And we'd just like to welcome you. Hope you've enjoyed the cocktails and the nibbles that we've had laid on for you. So before we get into it, I just want to talk a little bit about WUN. So I am Louise Wapshare, so I'm a director of WUN and a mentor, but also I am a CEO here at SmartestEnergy business. One of the CEOs. So I again welcome you with two hats on tonight. So if I just tell you a little bit about WUN first of all. So WUN, the Women's Utility Network, was set up in 2018 by a group of women who were very upset about the fact that we had gender disparity within utilities and really wanted to promote women within the industry and knew that the value that we could all bring. And Jo Butlin, somewhere around here at the back there, waving in the pink, is one of the founder members. So that was why the network was set up. We've been going for a few years now, and I'm very pleased to say that we have over 8,500 members, which is absolutely fantastic. We have over 70 partners, and without them, we would not be able to hold events like this. We are not-for-profit. Most of the people here involved with WUN are doing it on a voluntary basis. So without our partners, we would not be able to hold events like this or do any of the things that we do for our network. We also have a mentoring programme, and we hold regular events like this, but also we hold online events as well. And these are some of our 70+ partners. So just a massive thank you to all of our partners who make all of this possible. Just to call out, we are currently running a survey for the power of culture in shaping the utilities workspace. So the QR code is up there, but we've also got it dotted around. It's on some of the tables, but also dotted around some of the walls as well. So if you could log on, go on to use the QR code, go on, take part in the survey, that would be absolutely fantastic, because the more data we can gather, the more we can glean from that data and the more we can shape what we do. Some events, future events for your diary. So we run some I Am Remarkable workshops. There are a number of us within WUN who are qualified to run the workshops. So we try and run one at least every other month. They get booked up really, really quickly. And we're trying to get as many in the calendar as we can. But please go on. They're all about self-advocacy and they're absolutely brilliant. We also have a webinar coming up which talks to our the Strathclyde University MBA, which we are running in conjunction with Strathclyde. So we're really trying to promote women in a predominantly male industry. And Della, who's on our panel tonight, is actually doing that course at the moment. So we're really interested to hear some more from Della on that later. And we also all over the place constantly. So I know Holly, one of our advocates, was at an event this morning. We're at Utility Week Live, Future Utilities, Future Leaders Forum. So we're always all over the place trying to promote women in utilities. And that's where we are today. And I am very, very excited that we have our second Women in Utilities Awards event coming up. So this is in partnership with Utility Week, and we did our first one last year, and it was an absolute phenomenal success. I was blown away by the number of people there, the quality of the nominations and our winners. It was just amazing. So we're doing it again, 27th of June. So please nominate, encourage your companies to nominate. It's a fantastic event, really recognising the fantastic work that women, allies, businesses in utilities, all the work that everyone's doing to really promote gender equality within our industry. And finally, our podcasts. Loads of podcasts. So we have career podcasts, we have technical podcasts, we have industry, water, energy-focused podcasts, and all of the back catalogue is on our website. So please do visit our website. And mentoring. So again, huge, massively important. And I know within Smartest, we have our own mentoring scheme, but it's equally important to find mentors outside of your direct business as well. So you have that outside perspective. So please look at our mentoring scheme. And then we've recently launched our development framework. So Arrive, Drive, Thrive and Strive, really focused on women at every single level within the energy industry. With Drive and Thrive now live. Sorry, it's another I've. But again, please go on. There's loads of information on the website, so please do have a look. And if you're not part of the network, please do join. As I said, we've got just over 8,500 members. We're hoping to hit 9,000 soon. So please do join us. And feedback on the session. If you have any feedback, all feedback is valuable. It helps us shape what we do. And I'm going to thank SmartestEnergy for hosting the event. And I'll just tell you a little bit about Smartest. So we were set up originally as a trading and a distributed energy generation aggregator. We've moved into retail many years ago. And we now supply C&I and small and medium-sized businesses, working with distributed generators, brokers, trading counterparties. And we have 4 businesses now. So we have 2 in the UK, and we're also based in the UK, in US and Australia. In the UK, we have an award-winning C&I division, supplying over 33,000 MPANs. And within SME, we're supplying over 64,000 MPANs, and with generation, we are providing over 300 independent generators with competitive contracts that enable us to offtake and aggregate that energy. And one of the things that I'm really proud of that Smartest does on top of all of that is that we have a massive focus on gender diversity, inclusion, and equity. So really proud that we're able to host this event today and have you all here. So with that, it is International Women's Day on the 8th of March. So I would like to, rather than listen to me ramble on, I would like to play this video, which is an amalgamation of both WUN and SmartestEnergy clips. So
why do there become fewer women as they go through their life? You know, what is it in the workplace that is making women drop out? You know, so women will leave to have children and a family, but then come back and, you know, both parents are perfectly capable of looking after a child, you know, at any time in their life. So what is it that women are leaving for? You know, why don't they want to carry on their career, and why aren't they elevating themselves up through the ranks? I think that's really key. And then I think, you know, businesses, sectors, they need to look at how are they making themselves attractive to women of every age. You know, women aren't a monolith. There's not just one thing happening to women at each time. You know, there's women at intersections all the way through their lives. So I guess it's things like, you know, are you a mother? Are you a carer of an elderly person? Are you going through, you know, health difficulties of your own? All the challenges that life brings, we need to be looking at how we do that. But I think if we don't improve the lot of women in business, that they're just going to vote with their feet and they'll be off to a company that does embrace equity and, you know, does give an equal chance to everybody.
I'm definitely optimistic because I think there are more role models around and more women leaders demonstrating femininity and values and not trying to act like pseudo men. Because I think that can be a real challenge for younger women, especially if they're seeing a very abrasive or aggressive nature. They think that to succeed, do I have to behave in that way? And then that's probably a challenge for them as an individual in terms of, am I going to compromise my values or how I want to operate in order to succeed? So I do think that has been a huge challenge, but I see less of it these days. And again, that goes back to the power of a network and community and working with a broader range of people that you get to see. That those are the minority I'd also like to pick up on a conversation we had earlier as well about news stories. Negative media stories get really well sensationalised. And so you picking up on positive notes here, Jo, we do need to celebrate the huge successes around women in senior roles and helping support and grow the careers of women throughout their careers together, because there are some great successes. And we probably need to change the thinking and landscape broader by communicating that so that the negative stories aren't surfacing to the top, because surely that's going to impact culture and thinking at all levels in an organisation.
If you see an opportunity to be part of a discussion group or take part in reverse mentoring, it can be really terrifying to put yourself forward. But actually, that person is looking to learn something as well, whether it's about themselves or about the world or about your experience. So, I think maybe what's coming from this is the whole be curious thing. Be really curious and be open to telling your story and being your authentic self, because I really do believe that everybody is trying to go in the same direction, even if it's at different speeds. So if there's an opportunity to be part of something within your organisation or within a network like WUN or wherever it is, just grasp it. You're not going to look silly. You're going to look like a strong woman, really.
The messages from here is if nothing changes, nothing changes. Mm-hmm. And if you're genuinely passionate about accelerating action, then it is about doing things differently and not a tick box exercise, not focusing on those very tangible outcomes, but focusing on the intangible ones, the culture, the people, the atmosphere, and what you are doing day in, day out to live the values that make it a more inclusive place to work.
Well, I think that probably the perception is that energy is a male-dominated sector, possibly. We have taken a few initiatives recently to really try and attract more diverse entrants to the energy sector and also to Smartest in particular.
My biggest challenge as a woman in trading, I would say, is breaking stereotypes. I have been to a fair amount of networking events which are male-dominated. Sometimes these network events can be quite intimidating.
I think that the main challenge is imposter syndrome. You always wonder and question why you're there, if you're right to be there, if you are a good fit. The answer is obviously yes, you are.
I feel like the representation of women within my field has grown, which is positive. However, I do think there is a little way to go yet. I don't necessarily believe that there aren't senior roles for women, but I do feel like women still need to feel empowered to apply for and be in those senior roles.
It's about creating a much safer environment for both women who are already in trading and women who want to progress within trading, to be able to showcase their skills, showcase their analysis and their talent, and to feel comfortable actually voicing maybe even a contrarian view to what's on the desk already.
So this is a really male-dominated industry, energy, utilities in general, but I feel that actually at SmartestEnergy there have really been no barriers to me moving up through the ranks and gaining a leadership position here. My career and my profession has been nurtured within the business, and I've been given every opportunity to succeed and become now VP of Global Marketing.
I've been really lucky to have a career at Smartest, which has allowed me to follow my life plans as well. I started as an analyst and moved up into the spot role, which I really enjoyed. I then helped to set up our sales trading department. And then as I became a mother, I decided that I wanted to be at home more. So the spot desk is a great opportunity for me to be able to work shifts so I can have more time with my family, but also continue my career.
I think it's really great to see women in leadership roles, because it's really good to see and also work with women in leadership and to know that I can inspire to be like them and to climb the ladder like they have.
There's some great insights there. So before we move into our panel, I just wanted to welcome new members of the network or people who haven't been to an event before. I know we've got quite a few people here today who've never been to one event, so I just want to say massive welcome. I hope you enjoy it and I hope you come back and tell all your friends about it as well. Right, okay, so we're now going to move into our panel session. So first thing I'd like maybe is just everyone just briefly introduce themselves. If you could. Sorry, we're recording tonight, so we have to speak into the speaker, otherwise, microphone.
Hi everyone, I'm Selina. I am currently a market specialist at EDF, focusing on battery optimization.
Hi everyone, my name is Della Newton. I sit within the origination team at Engie UK Markets.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Sabella. I'm a senior spot trader here at Smartest.
Hi, I'm Kat. I'm a trading analyst on the forwards desk here at Smartest.
Thank you very much. So maybe Kat, if you've got the microphone, we'll start with you. Can you just tell us what attracted you to a career in energy?
So I originally wanted a career in energy. I think that I kind of fell into it rather than making an active choice to go into it. I found an internship straight after uni. When I was at uni, I thought I wanted to work creatively. I did a load of fashion internships and realised that I didn't want to make my hobby my career. That was an active choice that I made. And then I ended up landing an internship through a connection that I had, a family friend, to be honest, that offered me the opportunity to go and work with his company. So I ended up doing 2 internships, one in operations and one in finance for his trading firm. And I realised I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was just going to be a way to get myself off the ground straight after uni, but I actually ended up enjoying it and kind of excelling at it. So I decided to pursue it after that.
Fantastic. And Sabrina?
It wasn't my dream to be a trader when I was a kid. It's so surprising. Okay. First, I wanted to be a ballerina, then a veterinarian, then a journalist and a writer. And then during my high school, I started getting more interest in net zero and sustainability, and I was like, I want to save the world. So I was like, I'm going to be an engineer. So I went and did engineering and focused on energy engineering, power production, and fell in love with it. I'm not a genius and never been, even if I wanted to be a genius. But I loved math, I loved physics, I loved thermodynamics. And then started finding out about trading through career fairs and events that the university were organizing. So yeah, I've always, basically since the university, I always knew that I wanted to be in the energy environment. I just loved it, and I thought I would have more of a technical role, and ended up in trading, which I think is a perfect fit for me. But yeah, it's been a never-evolving process, basically. But yeah.
Well, I think you're doing yourself a disservice saying you're not a genius. and Della?
So I'm a little bit of a mix of both of you. I wanted to be a makeup artist, then a physicist, then a medical physicist. Then I did a master's in physics and decided, no, I do not want to be a physicist. So then after university, I didn't really know where I wanted to go. I just really wanted to live in Leeds because it's such a cool city. And my sister's a recruitment agent there. And she had Engie on the books. And I started at Engie as a gas billing admin. So about 9 years ago now, nearly, which obviously is quite a long time. From there, I joined the graduate scheme. I moved to London against my will. I really wanted to stay in Yorkshire. And I was like, Mum, don't you worry, I'll be back in 2 years. 7 years later, guys, I'm still in London. Thankfully, I moved through lots of different placements on the graduate scheme, but my final placement was in the shift trading team. And that's where my career in the energy trading industry really started. I stayed on the shift trading team. I met Sabrina there, so we were both on shift together. And then 4 years ago, I moved to the origination team. I think there's two questions though. There's how you get attracted to energy and why you stay in energy. It is so innovative, and the contracts that I'm working on as an originator, you're genuinely changing the world. I'm allowing developers to develop wind farms and build batteries, and it's really inspiring. So similar to both of you there, and also Sabrina, I agree, I also want to save the world.
Yeah, I guess similar to Della, I did physics at university. In my kind of final year optional courses, I tended towards more sort of climate physics, and that's, again, save the world. Wanted to kind of do something that was meaningful, and so I did a master's degree in energy science at Trinity College Dublin, which was great. It was really wide-ranging course, interdisciplinary, and energy attracted me as an industry because it's like unlike any other industry, I think, in that it has a crossover between politics, social issues, technology, science. It's just and it affects every single one of us every day. So that's, yeah, it's kind of something that uses my physics skills and also is, it's really meaningful and has an impact on the world.
Thank you. I can tell you're all really passionate about what you do. So can you maybe tell us what you absolutely love about being in energy and the role you're doing, and maybe something that's you find particularly challenging?
Yeah, I think working in the battery optimization space, it's amazing because it's so complex and so challenging, and is the developing industry, so it's changing all the time. There's new rules, there's new services, there's new technologies coming into the fray every single day. So it's really challenging because you have to keep on top of it all, and being in a kind of market-facing role is especially, you have to really be on the ball all the time and be able to think on your feet. So yeah, I think it's a great industry to be in.
Thank you. As an originator, your main job is building relationships with different types of counterparties, different people, different businesses, and you really get the opportunity to understand them. And there's so many different revenue streams and different types of innovation that's happening across the energy industry, and you get to understand it and meet the people and really get to learn about what they do and what they love and what drives them, which is part of the job that I really love.
As a trader, I guess you're just looking at so many things at the same time, and I love that I'm constantly learning. Like, even if you think you never know everything, so you never have a right answer. You're constantly analyzing and making your decision on the base of what you've just learned. So I think that's what drives me and what I love, the fact that every day is different. And year on year, there are huge changes in the energy market, thanks to originators like Della. So that's, I guess, what I love the most, the constant learning, the constant analyzing, the concept of like an ever-changing job where I learn all the time. That's all I always wanted. And the challenge, well, one of them is probably what we're going to talk about today, is male-dominated, so sometimes it is hard to be surrounded by only men. They're not that pretty. But there are a lot of challenges in trading, but they're less than I think the outside world think of. It's always seen as like such a crazy environment, cutthroat, and you're going to stay in the office for 24 hours. It's not like that, obviously, but we're going to talk about that later.
So I think the thing that I enjoy the most about what I do is, and this is probably going to sound really strange, but my job means that I have to read the news a lot, and I have to keep up with current affairs and take a view based off what is going on in the world. So I think I find it really interesting that keeping on top of all of that and kind of figuring out how that will influence the market, I think that's really, really interesting. But I suppose the ironic thing is that that's also the thing I sometimes find really difficult, because the world can be a scary place, and I'm so up to date with what's going on. And sometimes I'm finding myself literally doom scrolling through the news, I always say. And yeah, that can sometimes be challenging mood-wise.
That's all very, very, very interesting. So what do we do? How do we get more women in trading? How do we speed up the transitions that we have gender equality within trading?
Should I start?
Yeah.
So I think obviously the first step is to get more women in the door, but then also it's elevating women once they are within the company. It's not enough to just have hiring policies that are interviewing more women. It's once the women are in the company, are they being elevated to get them leadership roles that have been traditionally reserved for men? I think that's something that's really important, and whether that be through mentorship or whether that, I think that's the question here, is how do you make it an environment where all genders are thriving equally, rather than, it's not, I don't know. But I think step one is to get more women into energy to begin with. So hopefully events like this maybe will inspire more women to join us.
Should I answer some questions? If you'd like to, yeah, definitely mentorship is a great step. I think when I was at university, I would have loved to have a women mentor, especially into trade. When I first found out about trading, I didn't know anyone. And when you look for people in the industry that are only men, you can still reach out to them. Obviously, that's you can have a mentor which is a man, but it can be scary when you just see, okay, there is no women in that industry. So it would be great to have mentors that at least are in the industry that can talk to you about how the job is, how the industry is. And yeah, networking events like this one are great. I've been on many of these, and that's also a way that I got into the industry, the career fairs or university fairs. Like, you meet so many people, just like go to people and talk to them, no matter what their role is. I think that's the best way to get women in the energy industry and trading as well. But also, like, I think early engagement. I think about my career in engineering. We were 5 women, so we were to 500 men at first year, which can be quite scary as well. You're like, why am I here? So I think it should start from when you're kids. Like, tell a girl you're smart, not you're pretty. Or like, oh, you said something very intelligent, or like you did something great and useful, not like, oh, you're wearing a pretty dress. So I should start when you're a kid. And it should start from when you're going to primary school, secondary school, high school, when you start telling people, telling women that there are opportunities in STEM, so they can do science and they can be interested in aspects that are generally attributed to men, or they were, at least. Yeah.
That's a great answer.
I think categorically we need to change the picture that you have in your brain when you close your eyes and you think of a trader, because you think of a man, like everybody does, with lots of screens, probably lots of pots of coffee, staying until 12 a.m. even, the other one. And that's not true. There are people like us that are in the trading industry, and I know lots of fantastic women that are traders and originators and generally around the energy trading sphere. But it's making them visible and showing people that these people exist, which obviously this event is fantastic and we are doing that now, but it does need to happen more. Similar to what Sabrina said, when I first started on shift trading, I was desperate for a mentor. I was forcing myself upon people, for want of a better phrase, to be my mentor who weren't ready to be mentors, because you want somebody to look up to. So I think, just having more people visible for people that are coming into the industry is really important.
Yeah, I mean, those are really good answers. I don't have an awful lot more to add. I think, obviously, these kinds of events, like, we should just really not be shy about, like, adding everyone on LinkedIn, and we should all keep in touch and really, like, make this obviously, the WUN is obviously a great network already, but I think women have a tendency to be shy and not put themselves out there, and we should just do it. We should all agree that we should just do it, and keep in touch.
Thank you, and some great advice there around early careers and getting in there at the university level, and probably even younger. Yeah. So Della, I have a question for you. You are currently on the Strathclyde University MBA course, which is focused on energy, which is in partnership with WUN. Could you just tell us a little bit more about your experience?
Yes, so I started on the MBA course. I was cohort number 1 with Sophie, who's also in the crowd. We started in April 2023. My dissertation will be handed in August 2025. And I might be crazy because I'm about to do it on REMA, which is obviously quite a big topic. But obviously I'm quite near to the end of the course now, and I just think it's been such a special experience. There are modules that you do within the MBA that, especially for someone at my stage of their career, you're not getting that experience by just kind of following the job and progressing. In 10 years' time, I might know how boards are governed, but right now, the only way that I would learn it is through training, and I have through the MBA, which is fantastic. But honestly, I know this is cliche. It's the connections that you make on this type of course. And because this is a sustainable energy futures course, everybody is somehow linked to the energy industry. We've all got a bit of a common purpose, and we all come from quite diverse parts of the industry. So when you're in modules and you're discussing certain leadership topics, for instance, everyone comes with such an amazing view. We've got people that are coming from local councils. We've got two people that are very strong about hydrogen, from regulators, from distribution networks, from trading myself, from consultants like Sophie. And it really does make them really meaningful conversations. And I actually think that if you were to just learn the course, it wouldn't have that impact. It's the impact of having an energy network around you that really elevates it.
And how are you managing that alongside your day job?
It is difficult, I'm not going to lie. You do have to make sacrifices, and sadly those sacrifices tend to happen at weekends, unfortunately. But I do try and mould the course to help me in my current job. So, for instance, we did a marketing module, and I wrote my assignment on lead generation, because that's a really important part of my role. We did an economics module, and I wrote it on the battery optimization market and the barriers to entry. So it's not always something that's kind of completely separate to what you're doing. You can use it to delve deeper into the topics that you are interested in.
Very interesting. And for anyone who is interested in the MBA, there's more information on our website as well. So, yeah. And Kat, you specialise in European gas analytics. What made you go down that route?
So my first job in utilities was with EDF in their gas operations team. And then after that, I was at Centrica, working, kind of doing a little bit of everything, some bits of the operations, some bits of contract management, some bits of contract sourcing, and some analysis of tenders kind of on the origination side. And that was all in gas too. So I think my first two jobs were in gas. And when I joined Smartest, they were looking for someone to help more on the gas side. So again, not necessarily an active choice, but I do think that you kind of find your niche when you come into the industry. You kind of find something that you become a bit of a nerd about. And my thing is European gas. So I kind of have chosen to embrace the nerd side of that and actually just pursue that and make that my thing. And I think people do tend to do that you find your speciality and then you kind of run with that. Yeah.
I think that's key to anything, is it? If something interests you, then become inquisitive and seek. So Sabrina, you're a prop trader. Can you maybe just explain to us a little bit about what a day in the life of Sabrina is all about?
Did you really want to know that? It's maniac. No. As I mentioned earlier, every day is different, but every day starts with analysing market trends, data, and there are a lot of data, especially for power trading. And obviously then making a decision, like how to act, like am I going to make a trade based on my analysis? What's my position? So obviously trading, that's the main part of my day. I think one thing though that is often not looked at is also the risk management. Not every trade is going to be successful, and there is no trader in the world that is going to have every single trade being successful. So you need to be able to manage risk, making calculated decision and saying, I'm willing to take this position, knowing that my risk could be this in terms of financial income or loss. Obviously, it can be very high-paced. There can be pressure, especially within day trading. There can be days where like you're just all over the place, looking at a million screens, a million things. But that's exciting, and that's what makes it great and interesting. Because again, it's always different. Every day is different, and you see lots of changes based on policies from Europe, in the UK as well. So, yeah, a day in my life is just always new, and that's what I love about my job. Yeah.
And why do you think we don't have more women in prop trading compared to other areas of energy and utilities?
I think in general, trading has always been seen like a male industry. So there is always that bias. There's always been there. And again, I don't think women are engaged early enough. There are less women in trading, obviously. So that's the whole thing. So I think people see trading as this, high pressure, long hours, no balance job, which is not true. So having more transparency on that probably would let more women into the field of trading as well. And I think, the very problem is that there is no engaging. So you don't get anyone interested in the first place because maybe you have life commitments or work-life balance, whereas shift trading, like Della and I did, can give you plenty of that. Like you can have, like Gillian is in our spot trading team. She's a mother of 2, and the shifts actually allow her to have plenty of time for her family. So there is that balance, and not every place is cutthroat where you're gonna feel like you have to be there 24 hours every day of the week to succeed. It's not like that.
Do you think there's a lack of understanding of what trading actually means and the different types of career that there are in trading?
I think there's just not enough discussion about it. Similarly to STEM, why there are not, well, maybe now it's changed, but why there are not that many women in engineering or physics or any on maths? Like, why? Like, still now, I think, like, the majority is men. It doesn't start early enough, and it just people... I think it's just like we tend to fit into a role and we tend to fit into a label, and that just needs to change through talking, through getting people. If a little girl is interested into like counting the Legos, then let her count the Legos and let her inspire her journey through physics or engineering, and then that's how you go through that. Like it just. It's complicated, obviously. We're not going to solve women's problem tonight, I wish. But it needs to start from discussion and conversation. And like nobody ever talked to me about trading when I was at university. I just found out in a career fair. But then why all the guys in finance or all the guys in the same degree as me, they knew about it. So I was like, why do they know about it and I don't? It just, I wasn't part of the conversation. So I think that's what probably needs to change.
Thank you. And Selina, you've come from a consultancy background into trading relatively recently. How have you found that shift into a market-facing role, especially as a woman in trading?
Yeah, I think it's been great, actually. It's because I was a shift trader in my first role, and then I moved into consultancy, and then now I'm back to being more market-facing. And as Sabrina said, it's so dynamic, and there's so much you have to juggle. There's so much you have to make sense out of so much data and so many kind of factors that you have to consider. And also something that I really enjoy being back on the kind of the market-facing side is the little competitive edge. Like in the battery optimization space, there's loads of amazing optimizers out there now, and so we really have to be like on top of our game to compete, and that adds a little bit of extra spice to your day when you have to kind of keep on top of things.
Thank you very much. And a number of you have got experience across UK and EU markets. What would you say? Does this add a lot of complexity? Are there different skills that you need across the two different markets?
Yeah, I think from a consultancy perspective, it was definitely trying to keep on top of all the different battery markets across Europe was very, very difficult because every single market is completely different. As I touched on earlier, all of the energy industry is so heavily influenced by politics and by economics. So every single country has a completely different landscape when it comes to energy and power and gas. So trying to keep those all straight in your head is a big challenge, definitely.
You're only UK. I've had experience in the European market, and I had a lot of issues with Italy, which is the country I'm from, because of bureaucracy. So, yeah, as Selina said, every market is different. In my previous company, we set up a new trading desk and entering all the markets, and it's a lot of work. I don't think that there is any difference, like being a woman in European market or not. I think it just, you have to have an attitude of, well, patient. You have to have patience. You have to be open to learning new things again, because every market is different. It has a different structure. The UK is really unique in Europe in terms of data transparency, for example. So sometimes you get into the German market and you say, why don't I have any data the same that I have in the UK? So, yeah, be open to the differences of the markets, I guess, and the energy world in different countries. Do you have? Yeah, you do.
Yeah, so whilst I'm looking at mostly European gas, I'm also looking at the UK as well. And the way it works in the gas markets usually is that there's often an underlying trend where UK and Europe are quite intertwined now. So it's important to look at each country independently, because you may see things or trading opportunities arise within individual countries, which may then have a trickle-down effect on the whole of Europe, which then may have an impact on the UK, because the UK and the continent are viewed quite separately in gas generally, though they tend to follow a similar trend. They have like very different supply and demand dynamics, which I won't bore you with right now. But yeah, so I think that there's differences and similarities when it comes to trading them on the gas side.
Thank you very much. And I just have a couple more questions before we open it up to everyone else for questions. What would you say to anyone who is interested in moving into trading or a market-facing role? What would you say that really entice them in?
To really entice, I feel like I keep being the first one. I would say to just give it a go, to be honest, because you never know if you're going to enjoy something until you try it. And I do think that often in trading, that the front office is kind of glamorized to an extent where people are trying to push to get to front office, and you may get there and you realize it's not for you. But I do think that everyone should give it a go if that's something that they see themselves doing. So yeah, I'd say just give it a try. And I would say be curious about the market as well. Do your research, do your reading. Like, there is so much information that is public and free that you can read. There's loads of really great insights. So I'd say, yeah, be curious about that and find your niche that you find interesting, and then try and think of your own trading strategies that maybe you would do based off the information that you found. Because I think that's, yeah, finding the information is one thing, but then also thinking about how you could apply that within a trading environment is kind of the next step with that. And I think that's what can really make you stand out when applying for front office roles.
Yeah, I think be curious. I remember when I first started at Engie, I was just asking questions all the time. I was just going to no matter who and just ask questions constantly. Be curious, and just, it's a constant learning, especially the energy industry. Whatever role you take on, which is either operational or trading or consultancy, just so ever-changing that you just need to constantly learn. So be curious, and don't be afraid to reach out to people. I think, again, touching on the mentorship side, I think we should have more mentor in the industry. Not necessarily women, but like don't be afraid to reach out to that CEO, men or women, whoever, to that market analyst, Selina, or just send messages and chase and reach out to whoever you're inspired from. Doesn't have to be us, but I hope we are inspiring you. So yeah, I think networking is really important, more than you think. And yeah, just be open to new opportunities in general, as Kath said, like, you don't know what you like until you try it. I mean, I want to be a ballerina and now I'm trading. So passions changes, interest changes. So also don't just stick with something. Like, you don't have to be. I feel like we live in a world where people just have to stick to one thing. So you need to be you need to be good at football, or you need to be good at swimming. Why not both? Why can I be a trading and a ballerina as well? I could do both. I mean, probably not the ballerina, but I think, yeah, if you have more than one interest, it doesn't mean you're weird. It means you're normal, and you should just follow both of them. So be open to those interests, even if they're completely different, I think.
I think as well, quite a few of us have fallen into the industry and fallen into the roles that we now sit in. But if you're out there now actively making a choice to come into the trading side of the business, there are so many different types of trading roles where you can explore that. You know, all of us now, you can come out to us and ask us about our roles, but then also other people within roles. I'm sure that if you find someone on LinkedIn and reach out, they're more than likely to respond to you and kind of help you grow in your career. I've also found that although we do slate men a lot for being the main contingency in the trading side, a lot of the men that I've come across are allies, and they're all really interested in my career and helping me grow as a woman in the industry, because it does help in general in decision making, in trading decisions, because you do bring that diversity, and it does then feed into innovation in these types of roles. So I think one key message that I'd like to put across there is you are wanted in the energy industry. It's not just a quota thing, it's a genuine increase in productivity and innovation.
Yeah, following on from Della's point, I think I would encourage women not to self-reject. I think that happens. You'll see a job spec and you think, oh, I don't tick every single one of those. But I'm sure all of us have come from shift desks where there's massive diversity in backgrounds, educational backgrounds and career backgrounds. So I think, yeah, just go for it.
Thank you very much. Well, I think you're all absolutely amazing, and you've been so inspiring. So can I open it up to all of you guys? Does anyone have any questions for our amazing panellists? Yeah, if I can ask you to wait until you get the microphone, because we're recording. So,
have you ever had to deal with any misogyny or slightly sexist comments, and how did you deal with those, please? Thanks.
Yeah, I actually had somebody tell me once that they didn't think women made good traders. So that was pretty blatant. But the vast majority of people in the industry are super supportive of women in trading. So it's definitely an isolated incident.
I think for myself, it's something that happens quite often is when I'm leading on a deal and I have male, like my colleagues around me. If we go and speak to a new counterparty that I've not had the chance to build that relationship with, they probably are going to address the male in the room. So it's just trying to take charge of that conversation. And also, as I alluded to earlier about allyship from the men that I work with, they know as well that you're leading the deal and they also try and push it more towards you. But it is something that just happens so naturally, unfortunately.
So how do you take charge of those conversations when you've got your customer addressing the man in the room?
I just try and lead the conversation, essentially. So they will address him, but I will answer, which is sometimes feels a little bit rude, but there are certain barriers that I feel like as a woman in this industry, you just have to push them down because they're not going to move without you moving them.
I thought we were meant to promote this job. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it's really common, unfortunately. I've been told, like similar to you, you're one of the only women in trading, so you're supposed to be hit on. And I'm like, I'm doing a job as everybody else. But yeah, you end up in just surrounded by men. Even when my real first job was actually in consultancy, and I was always in a room. My role there was like, as an analyst, I was an engineer, so I was doing technical analysis, and I was the only girl, like in a room with old, white, bald men, and I'm like, why? But then I was just speaking out. I think, like Della said, just speak out. Don't be afraid of being assigned a role. I'm always, I'm a very extroverted person, and I'm very loud. I'm Italian. What can I say? But And sometimes I'm scared that people would just label me as she's bossy. But like, they wouldn't do that with a man. But I just don't care about those labels. I just behave as I normally do, and then I don't want to change. Like, I think in the presentation earlier, a woman, I don't know who she was, but like she said something super interesting. Like, you don't have to hide your feminine side just because you're in a male-dominated environment. I hate that. Like, well, I don't have to be a man. I don't have to talk like a man or behave like a man. If I am just assertive and I'm direct, it's my personality as a woman and not as a man. But yeah, you will encounter people that will tell you things that you don't want to hear, but then don't be afraid to like answer and speak out for yourself, because that will help people coming after you.
So yeah, to echo everyone, it does happen and it has happened. I'll give the same example I gave in the internal event earlier, so I'm sorry if anyone was there that's hearing the story twice. But in my first job, there were, and I remember this so well, there were 2 cats on the team, myself and then my manager, who was quite a bit older than me, who was also called Cat. And for the longest time, they were calling us Little Cat and Big Cat, which was just, not good. But this was kind of not directly to us. It was more when they were talking about us as a way to differentiate us. And then we had a team meeting. And I'd heard it going about, but I'm not sure Kat, my manager, had heard it. And in the team meeting, someone on my team goes, "Oh, so I was speaking to Little Kat the other day." And Kat, my manager, just goes, "What did you just say?" And he goes, and then she says, "Oh, so if she's Little Kat, what does that make me?" And he just froze up. And I was 21 at this point. It was my first ever job in the industry. So I don't really feel like I was placed in a place where I felt like I could say anything, despite how uncomfortable it was making me feel. To see someone do that, and that kind of was a real moment for me where I saw a woman standing up for herself, and that was kind of a bit of a role model mentoring moment in itself, where I took that on, and now I'm a lot more vocal, or trying to be a lot more vocal when things that don't sit right are said.
Hi, I'm Kate Mulvaney from Cornwall Insight. Really enjoyed this evening's talk, and I just want to say for anyone in the audience, if, like me, you maybe forgot to go and get a physics degree and or an MBA, and maybe just started in a call centre and because you needed to pay your rent, everything you've said tonight still resonates in terms of be curious, be ambitious, make those connections, all of those things. Even if people aren't moving into trading, I think everything you've said tonight has been so revealing and interesting, so thank you. I just wanted to ask a question. If it is the year 2035, goodness me, I can do maths, 2035, what do you want to have seen changed? If there's one thing, for women in particular, looking back, what has changed in the workplace in energy within the next 10 years? What do you think will help people thrive the most?
Can I just say, before we answer that I don't have a STEM degree. And I don't think that, and I do think that obviously they're really valuable and it does help, but I don't think it's the only route in. No. So yeah, I did just want to say that. In terms of what I'd like to see by 2035, I think something that would be really important to me is more women in leadership roles, because as we were talking about at the beginning, is one thing. Having women come in, it's then how do we elevate them within this space? So I think, that would be the thing that I'd like to see a lot more of.
I think that rather than seeing them, rather than having a full team of women in trading, I'd rather see many more women before that. So if I won't go to university and talk about my experience, I'd like to see that the degree I did, 10 years ago, is now full of women. I think that's what I'd rather see, and that they're not. And I would like to hear less stories about being discriminated or having an imposter syndrome because you're surrounded by men. So I just like to see equality in terms of But also like on the other side, I think we're just talking a lot about women being in this role, but also why don't we have more men that do nails or hairdressers? Like I feel there is also that sort of bias that like men have to be in very strong leadership roles. No, like there is no need for that. And diversity as well. Like I think that something that we are missing is diversity. Like in my previous company, we did hire a young girl coming from like not coming from the UK. It's like foreigners as well. I'm a foreigner, like so immigrants are like diversity in a way. So seeing that in countries like Italy is something not that common. Obviously in the UK you are used to that because it's the norm. But in Italy I would like to see that, like companies that have diversity and not just Italian men all over.
Thank you. It's really difficult to add to that because I think we're all kind of singing from the same hymn sheet here. To give a bit of perspective, if I was in 2035 and I attended eWorld, I'm not sure how many people went there this year. I would like to see that diversity because everybody, except for myself and Sabrina pretty much, no, there is more than that, but it's majoritively male and it's majoritively white, and that is not adding to that innovative decision making that I was speaking about earlier.
I would like to see GB net zero 2035.
Done it.
I think also, I mean, this is potentially a can of worms to open at this stage of the evening, but I think equal maternity and paternity leave is a big one for equality in the workplace, particularly when you get to more leadership roles and you're further through your career. It's massive, would be really important.
Sorry, I'd like to answer this one as well, please. I would like us not to have events like this. I would like for us not to have to talk about diversity. I would like events like this just to be about general knowledge sharing, just for people who have a common interest to come together and talk about things that really, really interest them. And gender, diversity, inclusion not even need to be a topic of conversation. Do you have another question?
Hi, my name is Christina. I'm from Macquarie. What I'm kind of interested to see from everyone from the group, really, is we talk... I've been to loads of events like these, and we talk a lot about how do you get it right on an entry level. But when you get to like mid-senior level is when the problem kind of starts appearing a little bit more, and that's when a lot of women probably kind of like decide they don't want to be part of the conversation, and it's very kind of male dominated. And you usually have people and men in general that think that they're very kind of open-minded and they're kind of helpful and provide that openness for women. But how do you challenge that point that it's just you're trying to do something but you're doing it wrong, and you know what you're doing is still you're treating us like children, or you're treating us as like still not equal? And how do you think, so I don't work in trading, I still work in an investment bank, but we don't do trading, but it's how do you challenge that point of I can see that you're trying to do the right thing but you're still not doing it right? Sorry.
So just to clarify, the question here is how do you kind of at a more mid-senior level, how when you get to that point, how do you sorry, can you repeat it?
Sorry, it was a complicated one. It's more, you get to a more senior level and you have male above you, because like 90% of the people above you are men, and they think that they're supporting women in the industry, but they, as a woman, you don't really feel like they are. It's still, there's an imbalance there. So how do you challenge that imbalance?
I do think that it shouldn't always be the responsibility of the woman to have to challenge that. Unfortunately, I do kind of see in situations like that, it is always the woman that ends up kind of calling out when that happens. What I'd really like to see is men noticing that happening and kind of calling that out at the same time rather than reinforcing the same views or values. So I think that comes really top down, really. So speaking to an ally or someone that you have in leadership and kind of expressing those concerns rather than kind of always having to be the teacher in situations, which I think can be a bit draining.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
I can only apologise for the question.
It's definitely. I think that some of this has got to do with, well, it's definitely culture within the business, but also HR policy. So we talk about men not recognising or behaving in a certain way that doesn't necessarily mean that equality is important at middle management. But actually, I think some of it comes down to businesses and the policies that have in place. You know, we talked about, you know, I know you said, Selina, by 2035 you'd like to have completely shared parental responsibility, and that is all part of it. So it's not just about elevating women, it's about allowing men to be as part of their family as the women are. So I think it works both ways. I don't think it's all a one-way street here. I think it does work both ways.
Can I just have a follow-on? Just because I've been to like multiple conferences for like water and energy in the UK over the last couple of years, and I'm one of the few women that are there, and it's not one business. It's a lot of the businesses, and especially when you come to utilities, there's a lot of this. So I do think that there's a way that we can find to, I don't know, just educate and challenge. And is it that it's a change of culture of every single business? But then how do we do this? I don't know.
Unfortunately, I think it's a journey that we're just going to have to be on for a very, very long time. And there are so many businesses that are doing amazing things around gender equality, diversity, inclusion, but some businesses lag behind. So I think it's unfortunately a journey that we'll be on for a long, long time. We will be learning for a long, long time. I think there are many businesses that see it as a tick box exercise. There are other businesses that absolutely embrace it as a culture and part of their DNA. So I think it's all, you know, it's a continuous journey. I don't think we really have an answer. It is just a continuous journey. I think Jo at the back.
It's being recorded. I better hold my... I've got two answers. I'm very old. I've been at this for a long time. I've got two answers. One is from a personal perspective, and I've been that woman in the room where you are the only woman in the room. And don't tell anybody, but actually what I said, or what I used to do was almost go, okay, I can either stand out because I'm the only woman in the room, or I can stand out because I'm the only woman in the room. And it can give you a real, don't tell anyone, it can give you a real advantage. So if you say something sensible and you're wearing a bright pink jacket, people will remember you. So there's that piece in terms of a personal journey. Laugh at it. You know, I've got this fantastic time when I was the only woman in the room at a massive conference, and I was speaking on a panel, and the panel was all lined up, and it went that I could see the sort of the AVA guy, and he was going, right, stripy shirt, whatever, woman. And you just have to laugh at it. So that's that side of it. The other bit, and it comes back to a plug for our survey, men don't know what it feels like to be a woman. And actually, our lived experience, so when we talk about some of the, you know, being called little cat and things like that, we all relate to it. And we can all have our own examples of that. But men don't feel that. They don't know it. So there's an incredible number of immensely supportive men. I've worked with some brilliant men. But they don't know what it feels like when you're walking down the room and you get a little comment or you get a little aside or whatever. So part of the reason for the survey, part of what I really encourage you to do is tell men what it feels like to be a woman in that environment. And the more we do that, the more they'll go, oh, blimey, okay. We had a dinner last year. Sorry, I'll shut up in a minute. We had a dinner last year, which was all about the Equalities Act and how that feels. And two men in the room
were so shocked by what they heard, they went back to their wives and they said, does this happen to you in the workplace? And both their wives went, of course it does. This is just normal. And they were, and honestly, one of them said to me, I've got PTSD. Because he is the most supportive man you could possibly imagine in the workplace, doing all the right things, but he did not feel it. So give examples, talk, and we will get there. End of spiel.
Any questions?
Oh, sorry. There you go.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Just to follow up on that, actually, what would you say companies should do or are doing that is good to kind of help understand each other, the sexes, and integrate females into energy and male-dominated industries?
Another big question. I think a lot of, I know certainly at EDF there's a very active women's network which does a lot to kind of promote, you know, not the cause, let's not call it that, but kind of just make people aware of the issue. So I think, yeah, those, I'm sure a lot of companies, there's similar sort of networks, so I'd, encourage people to seek those out.
Rather than kind of specific women's networks, we have quite a lot of talent programs, and it's specifically 50-50. So you have women and you have men both as talent, both being raised together. So there's that kind of cultural change in everybody's treated equally. We are starting our grad scheme again quite soon, and that again is a really good way of getting women into the industry. And I haven't seen that it's going to be 50-50 yet, but people keep talking about it, so I'll wait and look.
Something I'd like to see that I had in the past is, because I think equality comes also from giving the space to women as well, because men already have access to that and women sometimes don't. So going, again, maybe to university and finding any graduate or someone who's getting close to graduation and letting them know about the possibility of a job in the industry. It doesn't have to be trading, it can be anything else in the energy industry or not. But I've had the experience of being in there was an event called Women Trading Week, and there were so many women that were really keen to join the market, but really view trading as you're like the Wolf of Wall Street, Leonardo DiCaprio doing drugs and just being like crazy. So that's and then I was there, I was like, do you think I look like Leonardo DiCaprio? Well, I wish. So you just need to then to talk to these people and to these young women and just explain how it works, and also how there are different markets. A lot of people don't even know about power trading, for example, or energy in general. They know about derivatives and stocks, and but yeah, you can even trade oranges and avocados if you wanted to. So it just, again, it's just mostly male dominated. So go from the source, take them out and say, this exists. So maybe that could be a way.
So I think a really nice example of this is, as Sabrina was saying, is starting before you even get to university. We did an event at Smartest a few weeks ago, which was with Year 9 girls who came in, and as a part of that, I spoke to them about trading. And it's amazing how differently they thought about it than how we do. I asked them what they thought about when they thought of a trader, and I thought they were going to come out with the whole man in suit looking at a screen. And not one of them said that. I was getting things like risk takers, problem solvers. So that idea of a man in a suit looking at a screen is something that's being conditioned into young women. So I think it's kind of having those conversations and showing them that it's not that is really what's going to make the real impact. So I think more events like that, and showing children from that age, from that really impressionable teenage age, that a career in trading is a thing that they can do, and if they are a risk taker or a problem solver, then yeah, give it a go.
Thank you very much. I think we've probably got time for one more question. Or two, we'll do two.
Hiya. So within your roles, Do you have a mentor within your roles? And if so, is it a woman or a male that you look up to?
I pick up mentors everywhere that I go. I think there is the strict mentor. So, for instance, my first official mentor was a WUN mentor, a lovely lady called Kelly, who helped me, not specifically in the trading side, but in the confidence side. So I'd been through lockdown, doing shift trading, being stuck in a one-bed flat, basically sleeping in the bedroom while my boyfriend was up in the day and then switching, not really speaking to that many people, except for Sabrina, and then went straight into a very market-facing role where you are the face of the company and you're speaking to all of the counterparties and you're the first impression. And I was like, wow, do I have the confidence to do this? So that's why I sought out my mentor from WUN, specifically around that confidence piece. And she is amazing. Like, if you ever meet her, you will know for a start, because she's just a ball of energy, and she really helped in that respect. But then when I started in origination, I reported into another fantastic woman who is now CCO of a development company, Nadara, and she specifically helped me with the technicalities of being an originator. She'd been an originator for probably 4 times the length that I had, and she got a lot of experience of being that woman in the room and speaking up. A really interesting thing that she once said to me is that she's always been in conversations with men where she's not had the confidence to speak up. And one day she did, and she said something, I don't know what, but very technical about a PPA. And everyone looked at her and just went, wow. And her manager, who was a guy at the time, looked at her and said, you need to do that more. And now she has told me that he is her mentor. So I think it's going through life, picking up people as mentors, men and women. My current manager is my mentor as well, and I've told him that actively to make him help promote me, which is really interesting as well. So yeah, just pick them up everywhere you go, honestly. They're great to collect.
Yeah, I think definitely like get inspiration from multiple people. Don't pick one person, because you want to be inspired by different personalities, different roles, different backgrounds. Just see the variety that is out there, because everybody will have a different experience. You will have a different experience than your mentors. And yeah, as Della, like I'm never afraid to go to people and talk them up, or like reach out to people that maybe they will never answer to me, but maybe they will. So I'll just try. I did have, for specifically trading, one mentor that was, not unfortunately, but it was a male. And I just wanted the advice and like understanding how to actually juggle in a male-dominated environment. So I was like, how do I do this? Like, how am I gonna show up, speak up for myself, but not being looked at like just, yeah, again, the bossy girl, or like just not being too much. Because, and then he was like, it's not about being too much, because his answer was actually pretty good. Like, I am too much for people, but it doesn't mean that I cannot be the way I am. So I think like, yeah, what he said was like, build your own brand in a way. So that was like something that probably a lot of mentors say. You need to build your own brand and just stick to it. But that brand will evolve in time. And yeah, anybody, as Della said, yeah, just collect a lot of mentors. That's probably useful.
So I don't have any kind of formal mentorship relationships, I guess. But I work on a desk, so I'm an analyst, and then I work with 3 traders and my head of trading. And I think they all kind of mentor me in different ways as being the one who's kind of learning to trade. I think that I kind of get a bit of mentorship from them in that respect, even though it's not a kind of formalized relationship. And then I do have my first ever boss, who I have a really, really good relationship with. And I think it's really important to have someone who's external to your company as well, that you can go to for guidance on things. So if there's anything that I don't know, if I've been switching roles in the past, I've always kind of gone to him about whether he thinks it would be a good fit for me, because he knows me so well. So yeah, I think it's collecting mentors both within your company and outside of your company is key.
One last question.
Hello? Can you hear me? Sorry, it's a bit weird. Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm Senior Flex Ops Lead at EDF Energy. I work with Selina, who's bloody brilliant, by the way, so I just want to do a little plug. Sorry. And if anybody's interested in Flex Ops at EDF, let me know. I'm here in the bright yellow jacket. But yeah, so my question's about resilience. So working in an operations team, in energy operations especially, at EDF and leading that team over 7 years, I've had to build resilience, and I don't think it's something that necessarily is taught at university, at school. I kind of had to learn just throughout my career of the 10 years working in the energy industry. So any tips for building resilience, and any challenges that you've had where you've had to be like, okay, actually, I need to own it now. I need to own myself. And for example, for myself, I've had to learn to like build a very strong support network, and then also kind of also have an attitude where I'm like, you know what, I know what I'm talking about and I'm going to own it. Obviously respectfully. But yeah, just any tips on like building that resilience, because I think especially for younger graduates or you know, newcomers to the industry and not being maybe familiar with energy, or like, you know, any new job, for example, that you're taking on, you have that kind of lack of confidence. So yeah, any tips?
Yeah, I think, thanks for the shout out, Sarah, by the way. I paid 20 quid for that. No, I didn't. I think, yeah, as you said, having a support network, having like something separate from work, and having, you know, friends and family that you can talk to. I think also, we've touched on kind of being feminine at work and how positive that can be. I think telling people how you feel as well at work can be really beneficial. For me, it really helps me like overcome, if you've made a mistake or something and you take it home and you stress about it, I find it much better to say how you feel, tell your colleagues how you feel, tell your mentor how you feel, and then you can kind of, it really helps to resolve those issues in your own brain.
So I would say I've had lots of different experiences where I've had to build resilience, probably starting on the shift desk. When things go wrong overnight, you then have to sleep in the day knowing that you've done something wrong, which is often quite difficult. And then also on the MBA, I'm up to my neck in deadlines all of the time, but something that I've developed, and it's not a quick fix, unfortunately, but it's building that belief in yourself and that confidence in yourself that you will just get stuff done. I can have 3 assignments on the go, a deadline to respond to a tender at work, and lots of other things going on in my personal life. But I've got such a big belief in myself and a big trust in myself, if anything, that I can do it. And it's through experience of getting through hard moments, which I know you can't fast track experience, but you will come across them, and you've just got to try and build on that and learn from that.
I think that women tend to be perfectionists, and just the role it's assigned to them. You have to do everything perfectly. You need to manage work, life, family, your nails, your hair, your clothes, everything. But it's fine to fail. It's fine to make mistakes. It's fine not to be perfect. So I think one way to build resilience is also accepting that you will make mistakes, and just because of that, you don't have to fail. Like you're not failing. Men make mistakes. Men fail all the time. So something that I really struggled with at the beginning was like really beating myself down because I made that bad trade. I didn't look at that thing. I should have made a different decision. And you try and obviously talking to other people, colleagues, and externally, that really helped. But I think that voice needs to come from you and say, I'm still good enough. Like just because I made that mistake, just because I didn't take the right decision doesn't make me any less worth. So I think it's like learning how to talk to yourself, that you're not an imposter, you're doing good enough, and also you're just trying something out. Like Kath said, just give it a go, and even if it doesn't go well, you still try and you still learn a whole full lot. So it doesn't mean you failed, just mean you learned. So I think that we shouldn't be just scared to try things out and to learn from those mistakes, because it's still useful. Like my first job, I didn't particularly enjoy it, but I learned so much, and it was useful for me to get into trading. So I would never say no, I didn't want to do it. So yeah.
Kind of echoing the same thing, really. I think that there's so much to be said for owning your mistakes and owning your actions, and knowing that that was right for you at the time, and what can you do now to make that thing better, or how can you celebrate yourself for something that you did correctly. I also think it's kind of having that separation for things that were your actions and your decisions and things that are just outside of that. If it's a move in the market, for example, that doesn't work the way that you wanted it to, you can own your choice to take a certain action following that, but you can't change the thing to begin with. So it's kind of, I think that helps me sometimes, is knowing what I can change and what I can't change. And if it's something I can't change, that just kind of goes in a separate place over there. And if it's something I can change, then I'm taking ownership of that, I'm taking responsibility, and how can I work to make that better.
Thank you very much. So using your mistakes as a learning opportunity, and then controlling what you can control and acknowledging what you can't. I think key messages from there. So massive thank you to our panellists. Really, really great, some great answers, really inspiring. So yeah, massive round of applause.